Thank you so much, Joan. Shall we take some questions?
Do you want us over there?
Yes, why don't you all come here and we'll take some questions. Yes.
Hi, I have a question for Maurice.
Could you please say something about yourself?
Sure. My name is John David. I'm an MBA student here at the social program. I have a question regarding the exit strategy. So, when you launch yourself into a new entrepreneurial venture, how much focus or attention is there on the exit, and when do you know the benchmark is ready? So, for example, you're talking about having discussions with Sir Martin Sorrell, WPP. Would this be a potential exit for your company, Cookware? And when do you know the time is right to actually move forward with the buyout?
I think that's actually, it really depends on the type of company and where the marketplace is going. All of my investors, I have an investor meeting coming up next Friday the 25th, wish me luck. Thank you. But it's something we're considering now because all of my investors think it's too early. But I really believe for our company right now, it's the best decision we can make because it'll unlock new relationships that we don't have in every advertising vector where WPP has a company in their conglomerate. And this is specific to my company, and I'll elaborate a little bit more about other companies. But in looking at the marketplace with the recent merger between Publicis and Omnicom, I'm recognizing that for our business to really make sense in the overall digital advertising / ad tech space, this deal, along with another deal with a tech company. So we're actually going to we're going to be partnering with two big companies over the next 60 days. Hopefully WPP, and this is accepted by not only my investor group, but my board, because I want everyone to be happy if possible. Hopefully this works, because I think this will provide new potential, new opportunity that just wouldn't happen at the same speed if we waited another 2 years and potentially could be damaging to the company. I think if you are an entrepreneur and you get to the stage of growth where you recognize that there's impending competition, potentially there could be new dangers with competitors, the marketplace may change and go in another different direction that will cut out opportunity for you as a company to grow where you want to grow and then evolve, then it's time to perhaps take on a larger partner. And it really is a case-by-case basis. You really have to understand overall if you even want to exit, how much you love your company. I really love what we've created over the past several years. And I don't necessarily want to leave the company, but it's, I've consulted with, bless you, attorneys who've said, look, be prepared. You've gotten to the company so far that when these new groups come in, you have these new stakeholders with a different agenda. One for sure wants to see the company go public in 2 years. I want my privacy. So what do I want as an entrepreneur? I want to have my own life. I want to have fun with making investments and going to conferences like this. Do I want to be behind a desk with 2 weeks vacation time out of the year? It's definitely not in the forecast for what I see for my life. So I think you have to be honest with yourself as an entrepreneur. I sacrificed so much as a founder and CEO over the years, a lot. So there was a point where I didn't go on vacation for 8 years. I didn't see a lot of my family. My father got really, really sick, and I thought, okay, I need to rethink things because this is not living. So I think, one thing as entrepreneurs, I think if you don't forget your family, like always, if you can, try to see your brothers and sisters and your grandparents and your parents if you can. But don't lose sight of like the other things in life that are important. Because I got so caught up in what I was doing, and even now I find myself like it's all about the business. I have to take a step back and say, look, there are other things that are really important. So to answer your question, it really is a case-by-case response. Like you really have to think about what overall your responsibilities are to your investor group and for yourself as a CEO.
Yeah. I'm Edie Greenblatt. I teach leadership have a small consulting and executive coaching practice. There are 3 extraordinary female entrepreneurs at this table, and that's not statistically a common occurrence. This was the 50th anniversary of Harvard Business School admitting women to the MBA program, so there's been a lot of attention to supporting and developing women as business leaders. So all I'm after is an interesting comment or suggestion. You have predominantly male entrepreneurs here, but you have women as well. What do people in this room need to know? And it could be nothing. But
Yeah, I would say that for me, when I started my career, I was obsessed about how it's going to influence things that I do. And I remember that every email, every phone call, I try to think if it's better if I'll send it, or my co-founder, if it's a man or a woman. And I found out that there's no difference. I just stopped thinking about it after stopped thinking about it after a year or so, because I decided I can't do anything about it. It's not going to help to think about it. And I have to say that over the last 7 years, maybe the only thing that I do notice now is cold emails to developers work better for a mail, but it's just because it's a developer audience, and maybe sometimes getting press is easier, but that's like 2% of the things that I do. And all the other stuff like meeting investors, meeting customers, recruiting people, it's just the same.
Is it on? Am I on?
Well, is your question specifically sort of around the female aspect?
yeah, if there is
Yeah.
a difference, if
Okay.
there is something you've noticed.
Yeah. Well, I am obviously the oldest one at the table. And so I was in a unique position where I was one of the first 8 women at IBM that went into a professional role. And then I was the first female vice president at Philips Electronics out of 380,000 employees. And, you know, oftentimes people ask me, why did that happen? And I honestly don't have a clue. I think part of it is that, first of all, from very young, I had an objective as to what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. I always wanted to be a business leader. My dad had built factories in the Caribbean, and I just really wanted to be in a leadership position. So I knew that at a young age. And to be frank with you, I don't really feel that I ever experienced any discrimination per se. But then I think that sometimes it may have been that I didn't notice it because I was not tuned into that. I was a competitive athlete as a child, and I think that people that do participate in sports and compete in sports, you know, they have that desire to win. And I look at business very much as a game, and there's going to be winners and losers, and I always want to be the winner. So I'm very happy trying to lead a team to win the game. Something that I get asked a lot when I speak at business schools is about the work-life balance, because this is very much a topical thing today. And I find it a fairly strange question, because I personally had 4 daughters. I was back at work when they were 5 and 6 weeks old. Between us in our blended family, we had 8. And my answer to it is that I didn't think that work and life were 2 separate things, that I always thought that work was a part of life, and that certainly my children would like me a lot less if I wasn't working, because they get fed up with me really quickly if I'm around too much, because they figure that I'm too, you know, I'm looking for approval from them. So if I'm not out there getting it somewhere else, then the demands on them are too high. So they say, would you go out and do something outside? And the other thing is that as my children have grown, I've become much more valuable to them. So this is something else that I've learned, is that people often think their value to children is when they're young, but it's almost as valuable, if not more valuable, as they become teenagers and adults making their own business decisions, and they quite like having a mother that can do that. So I think it's been a great go. I have a lady that I buy cosmetics from, and I say to her, you know, when I die, I'm going to die standing up because I don't lie down long enough. And if I were to look back over my life, I'd say I've been pretty happy doing that. So I can't really complain. I often say to women, you know, being financially independent is very important. A lot of marriages are ending in divorce, and the last thing you want is to be dependent on some guy you don't like anymore. So I am very much, of course, I'm from that era when I'm very much for equality of pay, independence, financial independence, love your kids, you know, and just live life to its fullest.
Sure. Am I loud enough? Do I need a mic? Okay. My mom always said you have such a big mouth. Now it's paying off. So now, you know, I think no matter what, I think whether you're a woman, a man, black, white, Latina, whatever you're, I mean, there's someone who's not going to like you. There's always going to be some level of discrimination. So, I mean, it's like better to stay in front of whatever that can potentially be and to do the best you can. And I love what you say about sports because I would have never been able to do anything in my life, I don't think, if I wasn't a competitive athlete. And I'm always trying to find like the next best thing. And by the way, if anyone is going to be around tomorrow, I'm hosting a basketball camp at the Baylik Rogozen School from 12 to 2 for all the kids. But I love sports, and I think when you, sports, one of the, and it'll be very short, I know, but one of the things I love about sports is no matter what, it brings everyone together. So if you think about all the countries that are in political unrest with one another, like no matter what, if you talk about like AC Milano football team, nobody cares about what a political agenda is or what a business agenda is. So that really helps the environment. I've noticed it in business. Like when we get people all together to play sports, nobody cares about anything else but beating the other person at something healthy. So I think if you look at business that way, I mean, you really have to get, like it becomes like a confidence thing, and I think it comes from, at least for me, from sports.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm happy if anyone wants to challenge me to see like who can bench press more, squat more. If you can do more than me, I'm going to try to push more no matter what, even if I break my shoulder or whatever. The thing is like it's, you just have to change your perspective. That would be the best thing that I can say that I've taken away with me and I would recommend to anyone else. Just don't stand behind all that nonsense that people are putting in front of you because that's their issue. Just be the best that you can be at everything that you do.
I'd like to add a point to this. When I was 17, I wrote a paper in school about the, about women in society and the problems. And recently, my father found it when he was, cleaning up, exactly. And it was amazing to see what I wrote. And the amazing thing was that on the front page, I wrote that I hope my children read this paper as a historical anecdote. But it's not at all the case. We still have men dominating most of the managerial positions. And it's amazing because at the age of 17, I already understood so much of the sociology behind the differences and the differences in society that dictate that women should become teachers and social workers and men should become managers and engineers. I'm an engineer. And, I've been reading here and there about this. And there was a fascinating thing that happened in the Technion. The Faculty of Electrical Engineering decided that they wanted more women to come and study electrical engineering. And they created a very simple process. They asked high school girls to come to the Technion and meet women, female students, and female alumni. And they spoke to them and they told them what they were doing, what their lives were like. And they managed to get 5-fold more female students in 5 years. I find this is amazing. And the impact of role modeling, I mean, it's all about role modeling, is absolutely amazing. And there's another story that I heard from a well-known entrepreneur, that's Yankee Margalit. And he told me that he had read, there was research done in China. They took 2 groups, identical basically, and they told one group about the differences between men and women. Men do better in math in general than women. That was what they told the group. And they took another group of high school girls and they told them how much better Chinese are compared to Americans in math. And then they asked them both to hold tests in mathematics. And the group that was told that, Chinese are so much better than Americans did so much better than the other group. And this is exactly what Iris was telling us before, that when you encourage people and tell them that they are good performers, they actually do better. And I think there's a lesson here for all of us. when we employ men and women. Further questions? I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank everybody who's watching us over the net, and especially I would like to thank our wonderful speakers here. Thank you, Iris. Thank you, Maryse. Thank you, Joan. And you're all welcome to the basketball workshop tomorrow at Bialik Rogozin. Good night.